Welcome to my channel, Rise Up with Steve. Please hit like, subscribe, and don't forget to share with your friends.
Let me tell you something. Real love doesn't start in the eyes. It doesn't start with beauty, money, or attention. Real love starts in the soul. When a man falls in love for real, it's not because you chased him. It's not because you begged him to stay. It's because you touched a place in him that nobody else could reach. See, when you bring peace into a man's life, when you believe in him, even when he doubts himself, when you don't compete with his ego, but calm his spirit, that's when something changes. A man can fight feelings in his mind, but when his soul recognizes home, his heart surrenders. When you respect him, when you speak life into him, when you don't try to control him, but inspire him, he feels safe. And when a man feels safe, he opens up. When he opens up, he connects. And once a man connects on a soul level, he can't walk away, even if he tries. Because what touches the soul creates a bond the mind can't break. That's not manipulation. That's alignment. A man doesn't fall in love where he feels pressure, noise, or constant demands. He falls in love where he feels peace. Most people don't understand this, but peace is the language of a man's heart. A man can be attracted to beauty, impressed by intelligence, and excited by attention. But none of that keeps him emotionally connected if his spirit feels restless. When a woman brings peace into his life, she reaches a place no argument, no competition, and no control ever could. Peace is not silence, and it is not weakness. Peace is emotional safety. It is knowing that when he walks into her presence, he doesn't have to defend himself, explain himself, or prove his worth. He can breathe. He can rest, and that feeling becomes addictive. Pressure pushes a man away even when he cares. Pressure sounds like constant questioning, constant checking, constant fear of loss. It feels like expectations stacked on his shoulders when he already carries the weight of the world. Men are taught from a young age to solve problems, provide, and stay strong. When a relationship feels like another battlefield, his instinct is to retreat, not because he doesn't feel love, but because he feels overwhelmed. Peace, on the other hand, feels like relief. It feels like a safe place where he can put his armor down. A woman who understands this doesn't compete for control. She creates calm. She doesn't force emotional conversations at the wrong time. She senses when to speak and when to simply be present. Peace shows up in how you respond, not just in what you say. When a man makes a mistake and expects anger, but receives understanding, something shifts inside him. When he is stressed, and instead of being criticized, he is supported, he starts to associate you with comfort. His nervous system relaxes around you. His mind stops racing. His heart opens without him even realizing it. That is how you reach his soul. Not by chasing him, but by being the one place where he doesn't feel chased by life. Men don't talk about this often, but they remember how a woman made them feel long after the words fade. A peaceful woman becomes a memory his heart revisits. When the world disappoints him, when plans fail, when people doubt him, he remembers the one who believed in him without pressure. Peace allows love to grow naturally because it removes fear. Fear is what kills emotional connection. Fear of being judged, fear of not being enough, fear of losing freedom. Peace tells him, without saying it out loud, that he is accepted as he is while still being encouraged to grow. This is why a man may walk away from someone who loves him loudly and fall deeply for someone who loves him calmly. Calm love feels mature. It feels secure. It feels real. Peace does not mean tolerating disrespect or abandoning boundaries. True peace comes from self-respect and emotional balance. A woman at peace with herself offers peace to others. She doesn't beg for attention because her presence already commands it. She doesn't need to control because she trusts herself and the connection. And when a man experiences that kind of energy, his soul recognizes it before his mind can talk him out of it. Respect is the quiet force that reaches a man deeper than attraction ever could. Attraction may catch his eye, but respect captures his heart and anchors itself in his soul. A man can be surrounded by beauty and attention and still feel unseen, because what he truly wants is to be valued for who he is, not just desired for what he offers. Respect tells him without words that he matters beyond his usefulness, beyond his status, beyond his ability to provide. When a woman respects a man, she acknowledges his efforts, his intentions, and his struggle. That recognition does something powerful inside him. It makes him feel significant. Many people misunderstand respect and think it means silence or submission. It does not. Respect is shown in how you speak to him, how you disagree with him, and how you treat him when no one else is watching. A man listens closely to tone. He feels the difference between being corrected and being belittled. When a woman communicates without attacking his character, when she expresses her needs without humiliation, he feels honored. And a man will fight for a place where he feels honored. Disrespect, even when subtle, creates distance. Sarcasm, public embarrassment, constant comparison to other men, or dismissing his ideas slowly erodes emotional connection, even if love is present. Respect also shows up in trust. When a woman trusts a man's intentions and allows him space to lead in his own way, he feels empowered. That doesn't mean blind trust or ignoring red flags. It means not constantly questioning his worth or capability. A man who feels trusted rises to that expectation. Respect communicates belief, and belief fuels commitment. When he feels like someone sees his potential and doesn't constantly remind him of his shortcomings, he becomes emotionally invested. He wants to protect that bond because it feeds his identity. Men are rarely praised for their emotional effort. When a woman notices his consistency, his loyalty, his sacrifices, and speaks appreciation instead of entitlement, it touches him deeply. Simple acknowledgement can do more than grand gestures. Respect sounds like appreciation rather than complaint. It feels like being chosen, not tolerated. Over time, a man starts to associate that woman with dignity and comfort. He feels safe expressing himself without fear of being mocked or dismissed. That emotional safety creates intimacy that attraction alone can never sustain. Attraction fades when stress enters the relationship, but respect strengthens connection during difficult moments. When a man feels respected, even in conflict, he stays engaged instead of shutting down. He listens instead of withdrawing. Respect keeps communication open because it preserves his pride. A man may walk away from someone he is attracted to, but he struggles to leave someone who respects him. That bond is harder to replace because it fulfills a deeper need. Respect also means honoring his boundaries and expecting him to honor yours. Mutual respect creates balance. It removes power struggles and replaces them with partnership. A woman who respects herself naturally teaches others how to treat her, and a man notices that strength. He doesn't feel the need to dominate or withdraw. He feels aligned. In that alignment, love grows naturally. When respect is present, a man doesn't feel controlled or diminished. He feels elevated. That elevation is what reaches his soul. Attraction excites him for a moment, but respect stays with him. It follows him into his decisions, his memories, and his future plans. A man falls in love where he feels respected because respect makes him feel like the best version of himself. And when someone makes you feel that way, walking away feels like losing a part of who you are. A man never forgets the woman who believed in him when his own confidence was shaking. Belief has a power that goes far beyond compliments or encouragement in good times. It shows up when results are slow, when progress is invisible, and when the world seems to be telling him that he is not enough. At those moments, belief becomes emotional fuel. When a woman sees potential in a man before success proves it, she touches a place that ambition alone cannot reach. She is no longer just someone he likes. She becomes part of his inner world. Many men live under silent pressure. They are expected to figure things out, to be strong, to provide direction even when they feel lost. Society rarely gives them permission to doubt themselves openly. When a woman believes in a man, she gives him space to be human without stripping him of dignity. She doesn't shame his struggles or rush his process. She reminds him of who he is becoming, not just who he is right now. That reminder stays with him, especially on days when motivation fades. Belief is felt in consistency. Anyone can cheer when things are going well, but belief shows itself in patience. It sounds like calm reassurance instead of panic. It feels like standing beside him rather than standing over him. When a man senses that a woman's faith in him is not conditional on immediate success, his emotional attachment deepens. He starts to feel responsible not out of pressure, but out of love. He wants to rise because someone sees him as capable, not because he is being pushed. A woman who believes in a man speaks differently to him. Her words build instead of drain. Even when she is honest about concerns, she doesn't attack his identity. She separates his temporary circumstances from his long-term worth. That distinction matters. A man can accept correction when it comes from someone who clearly wants to see him win. Belief creates trust, and trust opens the door to emotional intimacy. He starts sharing ideas, fears, and dreams because he knows they won't be dismissed. What makes belief unforgettable is that it becomes part of a man's self-image. Over time, he internalizes the way she sees him. Her confidence in him becomes his confidence in himself. Even when she is not physically present, her voice echoes in his decisions. He hears her faith when he feels like quitting. That emotional imprint is powerful. It doesn't fade easily because it was formed during vulnerable moments. Belief is also shown through loyalty during uncertainty. When plans change or progress stalls, a believing woman doesn't threaten to leave to motivate him. She doesn't compare him to other men to provoke growth. Instead, she stays grounded. That steadiness tells him that love is not a reward system, but a partnership. He feels supported rather than evaluated, and support creates emotional safety, which allows growth to happen naturally. A man may meet many people who admire his success, but he will always remember the one who admired his effort. Effort is personal. It reflects character, discipline, and intention. When a woman notices that and speaks appreciation for the unseen work, she reaches his core. That kind of recognition builds a bond that feels rare. It makes him feel chosen for who he is becoming, not just for what he has achieved. This is why belief creates attachment that lasts. It is not loud or dramatic, but it is deep. It shapes how a man views himself and his future. A woman who believes in a man becomes part of his story. Even if life takes unexpected turns, he remembers her as someone who saw his light before it fully appeared. And that memory rooted in emotional truth is almost impossible to replace. Emotional safety is what allows a man to lower his guard without feeling weak. Most men move through life armored, not because they want to be distant, but because they have learned that vulnerability can be used against them. From a young age, many men are taught to hide fear, suppress emotion, and solve problems alone. When a woman creates emotional safety, she offers something rare, a space where he doesn't have to perform strength all the time. That space is where real connection begins, not on the surface, but deep within his soul. Emotional safety is felt in how a woman reacts when he opens up. When he shares a fear and it is met with patience instead of judgment, he relaxes. When he admits uncertainty and isn't mocked or compared, he feels understood. These moments may seem small, but they carry enormous weight. Each safe response tells him that his inner world is protected with her. Over time, he stops filtering his thoughts. He speaks more honestly, not because he is forced to, but because he wants to. That honesty builds intimacy that cannot be rushed or manufactured. A man opens up emotionally when he knows his words won't be used as weapons later. Emotional safety means disagreements don't turn into character attacks. It means his past mistakes are not constantly brought up to control him. When conflict happens, and it will, he watches closely how it is handled. If he feels heard rather than trapped, he stays present instead of shutting down. Many men withdraw emotionally not because they don't care, but because they don't feel safe enough to stay engaged. Safety keeps him connected even during difficult conversations. Emotional safety also allows a man to explore his softer side without fear of losing respect. When he can express sadness, stress, or doubt and still feel valued, something shifts inside him. He realizes he doesn't have to choose between being strong and being real. That realization is powerful. It creates a bond that goes beyond attraction because it reaches his identity. He begins to associate emotional relief with her presence. Being with her feels like exhaling after holding his breath for too long. Trust grows naturally in emotionally safe environments. When a man trusts that his feelings matter, he invests more deeply. He starts including her in his inner decisions, his plans, and his future. Emotional safety transforms love from excitement into attachment. Excitement is loud and fast, but attachment is quiet and deep. It's built in moments when he feels accepted, not evaluated, accepted, not fixed. That acceptance doesn't stop growth, it encourages it. A woman who creates emotional safety listens without interrupting, validates without agreeing blindly, and responds without escalating. She understands that being understood matters more than being right. That maturity allows a man to feel respected even when he is vulnerable. Respect combined with safety creates loyalty. A man becomes protective of the bond because it meets a need he rarely finds elsewhere. Emotional safety also removes the fear of abandonment during weakness. When a man believes he can fail, struggle, or pause without losing love, he relaxes into the relationship. He doesn't feel like he has to impress constantly. That steadiness allows love to deepen slowly and naturally. Over time, he bonds not just with the person, but with the feeling of being safe in her presence. This is how soul connection is formed, not through intensity alone, but through consistency, not through perfection, but through patience. Emotional safety weaves itself into a man's heart quietly, one honest conversation at a time, one calm response at a time, one protected vulnerability at a time. And once a man experiences that level of safety, it becomes part of him. He may leave places that excite him, but he struggles to leave the place where his soul finally feels at rest. A man feels energy long before he understands it, before words are spoken, before intentions are explained, before anything is defined. He senses how a woman carries herself. Energy is silent, but it is powerful. When a woman is grounded in who she is, she doesn't chase attention or demand validation. She moves with calm confidence, and that calm pulls people toward her naturally. A man is drawn to what feels centered, not desperate. He may notice effort, but he is magnetized by ease. Energy that is at peace doesn't run after love. It allows love to come closer on its own. Chasing creates imbalance. When a woman chases, even with good intentions, it places the man in a position of power without him asking for it. That imbalance triggers resistance. He feels pressure, even if he can't explain why. Attraction begins to fade not because he doesn't care, but because the dynamic feels forced. Energy that attracts is different. It feels open, not needy. It feels confident, not anxious. A woman who knows her worth doesn't rush emotional timelines or try to secure outcomes. She allows connection to unfold. That patience creates curiosity. A man leans in when he feels free, not cornered. Attractive energy comes from alignment, not strategy. It's not about playing games or pretending not to care. It's about genuinely being fulfilled within yourself. When a woman's life is meaning beyond the relationship, her energy changes. She brings fullness, not emptiness. A man senses that she is choosing him, not needing him to complete her. That choice feels powerful. It makes him want to earn a place in her world rather than feel like he is being used to fill a void. Energy also shows in emotional regulation. When a woman can feel deeply without reacting impulsively, she becomes emotionally magnetic. She doesn't explode when things feel uncertain. She doesn't collapse when communication slows. Her steadiness communicates strength. A man feels that strength is safety. He feels that being with her will not drain him, but support him. Attraction grows when he believes connection will add to his life, not complicate it. A woman who attracts rather than chases understands timing. She doesn't force emotional depth before trust is built. She allows moments to breathe. Silence doesn't scare her because she trusts the connection or trusts herself enough to walk away if it doesn't align. That self-trust is felt. A man respects it, even subconsciously. Respect fuels attraction. When he sees that she won't abandon herself for him, he becomes more intentional. Her boundaries create value without needing explanation. Energy that attracts is authentic. It doesn't perform or pretend. A woman who is comfortable being herself sends a powerful signal. This is who I am, take it or leave it. That honesty is refreshing. It removes confusion and tension. A man doesn't feel manipulated or tested. He feels clarity, and clarity builds trust. Trust allows attraction to deepen beyond surface level interest. When a woman stops chasing, she also stops overanalyzing. She responds instead of reacting. She observes instead of assuming. That emotional maturity changes the entire dynamic. A man notices that she doesn't demand reassurance constantly. He notices that she isn't trying to control outcomes. That freedom makes him want to show up. He reaches out more. He invests more. Not because he is being pulled, but because he wants to move closer. Attraction that comes from energy feels natural and effortless. There is no struggle, no constant proving, no fear-driven behavior, just presence, just connection. A man falls toward that kind of energy without realizing it. It feels like alignment, like ease, like home. And when attraction is born from that place, it doesn't fade quickly because it was never forced. It was allowed. What touches a man's soul creates an imprint that time, distance, and even other relationships struggle to erase. A man may meet many people, experience excitement, passion, and even affection, but only a few connections reach deep enough to become part of who he is. When something touches his soul, it doesn't feel temporary. It feels rooted. It becomes a reference point for how love should feel, how connection should sound, and how peace should exist in a relationship. That kind of experience doesn't disappear just because circumstances change. A soul-level connection forms when a man feels seen beyond his surface identity, not just for what he does, but for who he is when no one is watching. When a woman understands his silences, respects his struggles, and recognizes his effort even when results are imperfect, she reaches a depth few ever reach. That recognition settles into him quietly. It shows up later in moments of doubt, loneliness, or decision-making. He remembers how it felt to be understood without explanation. That feeling becomes rare once lost. Replacement works only for surface connections. A man can replace attraction, convenience, or routine. He can distract himself with attention or novelty, but he cannot replace the feeling of being emotionally known. When a woman connects with his inner world, his fears, values, and unspoken hopes, she becomes associated with authenticity. Even if he tries to move on, something always feels slightly off because his soul remembers a deeper alignment. Other connections may look similar, but they don't feel the same. What touches the soul also creates emotional honesty. A man doesn't have to perform or impress. He doesn't feel reduced to his role or expectations. He feels human. That experience changes him. Once he has felt that level of acceptance, he cannot unfeel it. He may resist it, run from it, or deny it, but it stays. It becomes the standard his heart quietly measures everything against. This is why some men return emotionally, even if not physically. They may not reach out, but they think, they remember, they compare. A soul connection leaves a mark that doesn't demand attention, but it doesn't release its hold either. It exists without pressure, and because it wasn't forced, it doesn't fade easily. It was built through moments of presence, understanding, and emotional truth. A woman who touches a man's soul does not need to compete with others. She is not competing on looks, status, or availability. She has already entered a different space. She becomes associated with depth, with meaning, with something that felt real. And real is hard to replace in a world full of distractions. A man may meet someone new who excites him, but when things become difficult, shallow connections reveal their limits. That's when the memory of depth returns. What makes a soul connection irreplaceable is that it contributes to a man's sense of self. He grows through it. He learns from it. He becomes more aware because of it. Losing that feels like losing a part of his inner clarity. Even if he doesn't consciously acknowledge it, his emotional system recognizes the absence. That absence isn't loud, but it's persistent. A soul-level bond doesn't depend on constant communication or physical presence. It exists beyond routine. It was formed in moments of truth, not convenience. That's why it survives silence. It survives separation. It survives change. Because it was never about filling a space. It was about connection. When something touches a man's soul, it becomes part of his emotional memory. And emotional memory is powerful. It shapes longing, regret, and reflection. He may move forward, but he doesn't move past it easily. Because while people can be replaced, the feeling of being deeply understood, accepted, and aligned cannot. Once a man's soul has recognized that level of connection, it knows the difference. And it doesn't forget.